Okay. Cool. Good to go?
Yes. Good. Ready?
BooBaes!
Hello.
And hi and welcome
To
BooBaes!
BooBaes.
That's right. And we are your hosts.
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Caitlin. And we're here to whisper about some extra
Some
spooky tales.
sinister shit.
Yes.
Dun-ba-da-dun.
Typically my demon voice is so much better than that, but my voice split.
It split in half. It was the demon itself.
I've got a lot of phlegm trying to come out of my chest, y'all. I'm sorry.
It's that time of year. The weather's changing.
There we go.
It's finally cold.
Today
Coldish.
it was kind of like,
Coldish. But it was like hot and then cold. You know what I mean? So that's why it's like.
because you're hot
Like,
and you're cold.
Today I actually felt like I had allergies. And I don't usually have allergies, but like my nose was all itchy and I felt all stuffy up here.
Oh,
But now I feel
always
fine.
have allergies.
But maybe because we saw Sonia and Sonia got me sick.
Probably.
But I'm
Gosh, it's all your fault.
gonna
Sonia.
say no. So we rebuke that. But today, what are we talking about today, Caitlin?
Today, we are talking about Sinister,
Sinister.
the 2012 horror,
Supernatural horror film.
supernatural, god-like
Excuse me.
horror film. We're getting into some pagan deities as well. And so that's pretty cool. Reminds me of The Ritual.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
That was a Nordic god.
The cousin of Loki.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. The bastard child.
Yes, yeah, the bastard child of Loki, not his cousin.
That's what it was.
That's right.
For some reason, I just can remember you kept saying that, so it stuck in my head. But yeah, directed by Scott Derrickson and written by C. Robert Cargill. It stars Ethan Hawke, which is who I was just talking to Mike about. It has been in like a lot of horror films.
Yeah,
Seems to love horror films.
We were just talking about
The
Black Phone.
Black Phone.
Yeah,
and I think he's in one of the Purge movies.
Oh yeah,
as
that would
well.
make sense.
And then he's in something else, and those are Blumhouse movies as well. Films. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I've always said Blumhouse, but I believe it is Blumhouse.
It's tomato, potato, you know,
tomato,
something like that. Whatever floats your boat.
Tomato, potato. What?
Bloomhouse. That sounds fancy.
It does. But then I heard Aaron Mankey say it the other day on Lauren. He said Blumhouse, and I was like, damn it, that man researched so much of his shit. Like, I'm sure
he's got to be right.
I don't imagine he ever mispronounces things, because he has such a wide like variety of people researching for him and stuff too, that it's like
fact checking.
Yeah. So I was like, damn it.
But yeah, I'm excited to get into it, because I remember I watched this when it first came out in 2012.
Yeah, see, I actually don't. We were talking about this the other day. I don't know when, but I didn't watch this until recently, like within like the last 2 to 3 years.
Okay, yeah, I saw it in the theater, and when I first watched it, it actually really genuinely freaked me out. I had a nightmare about it.
It is fucking creepy.
Yeah, especially like I feel like in the theater setting.
He was in Dead Poets Society. That's right. Ethan Hawke. Sorry, now I'm looking at his.
He has such a long list of
I
films.
love Dead Poets Society. Yeah, he is in The Purge. Training Day.
And so
Magnificent Seven. He was in that. That's right.
I haven't seen that.
What is this? Glass Onion. Knives Out.
He was in Knives Out.
That was a good movie.
I liked it.
I liked that one.
They have a sequel coming
a
out.
lot. Yeah,
it did come out.
It's called Glass Onion.
That's what it is.
What a great name.
The Glass Onion and Ethan Hawke. And so, the movie basically follows a family and follows this dude who is a writer who is going to write a novel about a crime that has happened. And he and his family move to a town, and there's other details that come about that just make the whole story very sinister.
Yes.
And
he seems to be a more of a cold case writer. And so he'll come in, and it's just like a lot of the internet sleuth nowadays that will, like, all the time Reddit people are solving murders and stuff. The whole don't fuck with cats thing. Like, it's just people doing their own independent research. I say that. I've never seen that because I didn't want to see kitties get hurt.
I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I know the general idea. But
that there's also, like, there's a limitation that the system can do for people.
Yeah.
And so other people take it upon themselves to put the puzzle pieces together sometimes. And crimes can be solved.
They just got some time on their hand and they realize some things, and so that's what he does. He's basically a crime writer who comes in, a true crime writer, and has solved some cases, but as we find out later, has also let possibly some guilty people walk free.
Yes, because of his writing. And yeah, we'll get to that part from a very unfriendly welcoming
yeah, I know,
such
a mean person. It's like, okay, you dude, calm the fuck down.
I can see their point, but also, like, I don't feel like poking the bear is exactly the best way at, like, you know.
Yeah, just like at least try to be somewhat civil.
I don't know,
like be an adult.
Well, it's funny because it was weird, like, at times he was like nice-ish, but then, like,
it was all sarcastic.
Yeah, and then, like, at the end, he's like, well, I didn't want to read about people, you know,
chasing you out of town and stuff. He's like, basically, don't give my town a bad name.
Exactly.
I don't want
like,
my
it was
town to
nice, but, like, still for an agenda of, like, yeah, he just didn't want him to talk bad about it. But anyways, so we'll get there. We start the film pretty heavy because we get the Super 8 film kind of type of video style, home footage style, and there's a family kind of four. Looks very, you know, much like a dad, mom, and two little kiddos, and they're
yeah, imagine this is like on the back of your car, those little family stickers, but it's just so dark.
But kind of funny. They are what is it called when you have like a potato sack over your head? They're just like, well, you know, potato sack Ted. And then they all have nooses and they're tied to the tree, and you just see the other side and this tree getting cut by the saw, but you don't see anybody like cutting it.
Yeah.
You just kind of see it moving at this point.
But it's got this fun lever device.
It does.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. And then because the tree limb that is falls, it lets the other side of the tree go up, and all these family members just start going up in the air, little feet, and you're just thinking like, oh fuck, because it's really heavy already from the get go.
You watch 4 people get hanged.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
you watch them struggle until they slowly come to a stop.
The name of that home footage, what was it again? It's like
hanging out.
Yeah, family hanging out.
Yeah. I love
he's so punny.
I know,
with all the titles.
Time. Yeah, loved it.
But yeah, and then we get a title card after that.
We do.
Instantly. It's called Sinister. So it's super exciting.
And you also see someone toss the saw out, but you can't, because that's how you can tell like what did cut it, but you can't tell who tossed the saw out.
Because you're left in the dark for this for not too long though, actually.
No, not too long.
I mean, because I kind of put those pieces together before we got to the kind of bigger reveal of you know, the footage, but it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So we have them then cutting to the family moving in. Very much like all movies, like it's supposed to be like, oh yeah, new beginnings, you know.
Everything's gonna be great.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not.
And he just like carrying this little box, and she's like, oh, that's it. And he's like, this is very precious stuff. Yeah. It's like very fragile.
It's for my office. And she's like, you wuss.
Yeah.
And
huge office, by the way.
It is. Yeah. Yes. Like bigger than my whole house. But the house is so fucking dark.
The whole entire movie. I'm also thinking like, why do these people live like why doesn't he ever turn on a light?
I know. There were so many moments where I was like, turn on a fucking light.
And
dude.
There's so many lamps.
Yes.
Did you? I was watching with Robert, and there was like so many freaking lamps the entire movie.
And then none of them were utilized. I was commenting on it, and I was like, motherfucker, turn on a stupid light. And then I realized I am 1000% that person that like walks through my house in the dark. And I'll go all the way downstairs, and then I like rarely turn on lights.
Same, especially me when I'm getting ready for work early in the morning.
Yeah, and that might be where that habit came from, is from having to work super early mornings and not wanting to wake anyone up.
Yep. And also like light early in the morning when you're just waking up is so harsh, at least for me, on my eyes. They're like super fucking sensitive. So I just don't even turn them on. Yeah. I kid you not, I'm usually using this like just to get around. Yeah,
I'll use my phone screen, not even the flashlight all the time. Yeah, I'll do that as well.
And so they're moving in. We have the cops show up at this point. We have one who we really get to know throughout the movie as Deputy So-and-so. Holding the book. Is it the Kentucky Blood?
I think
that's another one.
That's the one that he mentions later on as wanting to get a like autograph for. On. But I don't remember exactly which copy he was holding here.
Because he has a lot of books apparently by this point, at least a few. And so then the sheriff comes and is like, seriously. Because I guess they're really there
for a fucking
autograph. Yeah, because
also he hates him.
Yeah, because their agenda there isn't really necessarily to show that they like him. He wants to be like stern and kind of put up this front of like, you're not really welcome here because we know what you write about. And he's also kind of, he hasn't talked bad about cops, but because of what his research has done and led to like the discovery and of crimes and cases getting solved, it's made the police look bad. Yeah. So he doesn't want that to happen to them.
Yeah. And it's shown where they've slipped up, where they didn't, just general police like oversight. And so, and he picks up those little pieces and then solves the crime. So obviously it would. It's like somebody coming in and doing your job for you. And right before he goes out to meet her, though, we get a little flash of Ashley. Is her name right?
Yes, Ashley, the little redheaded girl.
Painting the wall. And already, like, her watercolor's too watery. Because all these paintings she's painting look hell fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And then this is where we get the conversation of the dad being like, okay, but what are the rules? No painting, like paint has to stay in the bedroom.
In the bedroom, yeah.
No painting outside of it, which comes into play a little bit later.
It's a bit of foreshadowing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's all happening kind of interwoven at the same time. And then, like we said, he has that conversation with the cops. And then the sheriff, I don't know if he's the sheriff, but he's like the chief.
I think he said sheriff.
Okay.
So
he is talking to him. The wife is watching and she kind of is, I'm sure getting like a vibe that like it's weird, like this conversation they're having. And then he points at the house and he's like, and I also find this in poor taste.
Yeah, extremely bad taste. And he was being savage. He was saying something about like, because he was like, well, whenever people tell me not to waste my time, it makes me think that they're wasting theirs or something. And
they kept like going back and forth.
Yeah, and then he says, well, this could be just another waste of your time, just like your last two books. And it was like, oh, damn, sir, this fucking savage.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then as he's walking away, the wife comes up and is like, I saw him pointing at the house, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he's basically saying, no, like nothing. It's totally fine. And she was like, we didn't move a few houses down from a crime scene again, did we? And he was like, nope.
Yeah.
But at this point, we can already tell like he's moved into the crime scene.
Yeah, we already know because it's shown that I think at this point too, he goes to the backyard and he looks at the tree that the family got hung. So at this point, we already know.
But clearly his wife doesn't, which is not okay.
And at this,
you can't do shit like that and then not have your partner.
No, and it actually is kind of weird because I was thinking while watching the movie as well, like, why isn't she more filled in on like what's going on? Especially, and she
like made a little comment like, I don't want to know, but no, you have to know.
No, and also too, especially if you don't want your children to know, then you have to know so you know what you need to protect them from. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way to not know. So, and a lot of her like. Yeah, I just felt like it was things that as a married couple, I felt like that would have like been talked about, but I guess not.
Clearly should have been. Yeah, and I mean, I understand that what he's doing is a little
because like even when they bought the house, she should have known if they got it for a steal. Well, been suspicious as like why the fuck like was Ryan Reynolds so cheap? Why was
the catch?
Literally, why was this house so cheap?
And well, there was a crime of. violent murder.
Literally.
But we moved on. We're past that.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's kind of her. I feel like being more. What's the word?
She also is
ignoring all of the problems
because she's capable of. It's 2012 when this is happening. The internet wasn't as big, but it was definitely still pretty easy to look shit up.
Yeah, especially where they're moving to. Like, if she knows that he is writing stuff for, I guess she just obviously was just like ignoring all of it.
Yeah. She had blinders on. She didn't want to see none of it.
And so, he ends up, after that little situation with the police force, he goes into the attic of the house. And that's whenever he finds this box in there that isn't theirs at this point.
Because we can infer that he's moving the first box up there.
Yeah, exactly.
And so whenever he gets up there, he's like,
what's that?
I didn't put that there. Yeah. And it's labeled home movies. So it's like, oh.
And then when he lifts it up, right, there's a scorpion underneath it. And so
I'm so afraid of scorpions.
Yeah, it was just crawling around in black scorpion. I've never seen a scorpion. No.
Me neither. I've seen one like in a tank to have it in a shot.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
There's a place called Nacho Daddy in Vegas and they have scorpion shots.
That's cool.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. But wait, what do you mean, like it's alive?
I think so. No, I think they kill it.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Do you drink it?
I've never done it.
Is it like a little one?
Some of these were big.
Really?
Maybe they can't put the poison in it.
No, but
that seems problematic.
If I were to see one in real life, I'd probably be scared of it.
Oh yeah, I would.
Because they seem very alien-like and creepy, and they can like sting you, right? And some of them are, not all of them, but some of them are venomous or poisonous.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of them can kill you.
Yeah. So, and they got pinchers. Yeah. I don't want to get pinched.
All of these things.
One time I got a
hard pass.
Hermit crab. His name was Finn. This was like in high school, and he pinched the fuck out of me. Within the first 30 minutes that I got him, I was in.
So you threw him at a wall and he died?
So no, the thing was that here's the thing is, so we were, I got him from the mall, from Earthbound as one would back in the day, and I was in the car, in the back seat. My sister and her boyfriend were up front. We were going home, and I loved him so much already. I wanted to take him out of the little thing. So I was just like, got him, and I like put him on my hand, and I was like, oh, look at him. And he was chill for a minute. Like, it was all like, okay, he's good. And then out of nowhere, he just like, right here in the middle, just, oh my God, like pinching me so hard. And I am screaming in the back seat. I am writhing with pain.
He probably got motion sickness, and now he's got more motion sickness.
Yeah, and and he was probably freaking out. He didn't know what was happening. We were in a bumpy car maybe, and that's what happened. Set him off, and so he just pinched me, and I just didn't know what to do. And my sister was freaking out because she's just like, "Why are you screaming?" And I'm just like, "It hurts," and she's just like, just stopped screaming, but I couldn't stop, and so she had to pull over. And so I'm literally there, like on the side of the road, Kermit crab pinching me. She's trying to look up like how to get it off of me, and then I don't even remember. I think we got food on the way, and so they had like an ice cold drink. So they started putting like ice cold water on it to like try to let go of me, and it did not work. If anything, it made it pinch even harder. And so literally I just had to like let it pinch me forever because we got back in the car until it decided it wanted to let go, and then finally like let go, and at that minute I just like took it off and put it in the little thing, and I never like touched him again. Really, no. I fed him and took care of him, but I left him in the thing, so I was like, man. And it even like broke skin. I was bleeding because of like how bad it pinched. Yeah. Ouch. It was for like a good 5 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime.
It did. I felt like it hurt you for a lifetime. I could see the pain still in your eyes.
I'm traumatized. I literally remember every moment of that. And so
anyway, so he found the film rolls
and killed the scorpion with the box. Yeah, by the way,
he just smashed him right dead. And I feel like their exoskeletons like a little bit harder than that, but I don't know. Mush. Never met one.
Turned into mush.
It sure did. But we see some of those real clever names, like we were talking about earlier. One of the film rolls says Family Hanging Out 11. One says Barbecue 79, stuff like that.
And they date back pretty far. And so next we have our little family dinner. And I think they're just basically, it's kind of setting up more about how, just the tone of how mom doesn't want the kids knowing about anything that goes on. And essentially, and we'll get more here in a bit, but she just wants to protect them because of things that have already happened in the past.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we get kind of introduced to Trevor and Ashley's there as well. We've already kind of met her though.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm 12. Like,
he feels like he's old enough to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he's being sarcastic, a little sassy with his mom.
He is very little sassy pants. I like his character a lot. He's funny. And then also this mom, she's a pretty solid mom. The way she's handling everyone is like,
let's take
good for you, mom.
Oh.
Good for you, mom.
Good for you, mom. Okay.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't rap, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.
And so we're getting, like, she's a pretty solid mom. She's doing everything. And I was just referring to her as mom at this point because I couldn't remember her name. But then I feel like we kind of get that, again, really solidified. Ellison is his name. Tracy is hers.
I didn't even have that solidified for me for the Tracy part. Ellison I got, but yeah. But it's basically just giving more exposition of just like the family dynamics and how they're working right now and what's basically not working.
Yeah.
Because you can already tell it's just a little dysfunctional just
Tensions
because
are a little high.
Because, well, and also from our perspective as the viewer, we already know more information than she knows.
Yeah.
And so you already know, like, this is not going to be good.
No.
Because
you never leave your wife in the dark.
And we
That's
already
a dumb fucking idea.
And of course it's a movie, so she's going to find out at some point and it's going to be it's going to be a big thing. So, yeah. And it does end up being a big thing.
It really does.
And so we have them, I think.
She's going to bed.
Yeah, that's right. They're talking about it even more by themselves.
Because he comes in, she's like, you didn't brush your teeth. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm gonna finish that. I got my office a bit and stuff like that. And she's talking about like how she just wants to see him enjoy his work again. And she also delivers a pretty savage line of, she was like, Kentucky Blood was 10 years ago. Yeah. And he was like, okay. And she said, so what if that was your 15 minutes? And it was like, oh, damn. Saying like, he's peaked.
Yeah.
You peaked, son. Time to sit down.
Kind of like a hard truth.
Yeah, for real. Because, I mean, 10 years ago, he's been chasing that high ever since and has been unsuccessful.
And I'm sure, and there's something about when you're chasing a high like that, you're not going to get it because you're too focused on getting that high that nothing natural can flourish from it to achieve what you achieved in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
And also, I don't even think it was pretty savage. But, it's coming from a place, I see her perspective as well, though, because she's not trying to be like a bitch about it.
She's just like, tired of having her family uprooted constantly for little to no return.
And she's just like, it's time to like shift your priorities a little bit.
And seeing how stressful it is on him and stuff. And,
that he's chasing that high so much that it's no longer like enjoyable.
And his focus isn't on the marriage or his children. She says like, if you blink, you're going to miss all of these super important years with your kids kind of thing. And she says if stuff starts to go sour, she's taking the kids back home to go to her sister's.
Yep.
And I was honestly
pretty
remarkably
savage,
like shocked.
You can feel she meant that.
Yeah. And I was shocked with how easily he was like, okay. Yeah. And he says things aren't going to go sour, but still there was like no fight at all, which was, I was kind of like, okay. I mean,
you can tell things had to have been pretty bad beforehand for her to be like, I'm not putting up with anything. Yeah. Like if one little goes off, I'm out. You know what I mean? Not even 3 strikes. Yeah. So at this point,
we're setting up his office.
Exactly. And he's laying out all of his, what do you call of this? Like
all of his,
like a detective work type of room
all the
situation.
Pictures, the maps with the strings tying everything together.
Yes,
just,
very much that.
The Always Sunny picture. It's that coming to life. And
he's marking up things.
We see the picture of the attic and it's empty.
And then he puts that little box there and a little sticky note and he's like, who put you here?
Where did the movies come from?
Yeah. And then he's like, circling a picture of the kid, like Stephanie. And he's like, where are you? Because he's trying to figure out this mystery of a disappearing kid and who murdered this family.
Exactly.
He's looking at a map and all the dead people, in the photos, what are they called? The crime photos of the scenes?
Crime scene photos.
Yes.
And then he's like, okay, well, I have to watch these films that I found because, this could be my first hint. And they very much are. And also his like kind of unraveling. But
yeah, just a little bit.
And he's hanging up the sheet and this motherfucker, I know that this boy did not just put thumbtacks into the fucking wood.
I don't know much about anything.
Sheets.
Is that not going to hold?
Well, it's just don't fuck up your wood like that. Because then if you're like forcing things in and then it could split, it was like a finished wood.
I don't know. Is that what you not do? How would you do that with wood then? Like putty? I don't know. Like a sticky tack?
I just wouldn't hang it there. I'd hang it somewhere else.
Oh.
That didn't. Because it was just a trim.
Yeah.
So he could have hung it like somewhere right below. And I was like, boy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just get you a little toothpaste, fill in your drywall, is fine.
I know. Meanwhile, I put like holes in the walls. But it's just like sheetrock. It ain't nothing special.
Yeah, no. That's easy to fix. Because you can just like fill it in. But the wood, you can't fix that as easily. So that's why I was upset. Anyways.
It's a nice house.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Not as nice as the house in the Hinge, but
no, I know. Whenever they moved back to their house, I was like, damn, now I see why that little girl didn't want to leave. Like,
I was
that house
thinking the exact
nice
same thing.
Hell.
She probably had like 5 different rooms.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So
for all
nice.
of them. Yeah.
Too big.
No wonder he couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a fucking mansion.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, y'all rich.
Kentucky Blood must have done good.
Yeah. He went to the Kentucky Derby too. Bet on some horses. Who knows?
And so we are watching the family hanging out, and we get to see the video essentially that we saw at the beginning, just a little bit longer.
We get some stuff at the beginning with the family just hanging, like actually
literally
hanging out.
Yeah, like a barbecue situation, I guess ish.
Yeah, they're
not
just
really
enjoying themselves in the backyard.
Yeah, like playing a football.
They're being filmed from afar, like from behind little branches and stuff.
Bushes, yeah.
So it's just kind of like, okay. And so this is where he's writing like, who made this film, basically. And he was like, where are you, Stephanie, and stuff. And we're going through and we're also kind of asking the same questions because you're seeing at any given point, you're seeing at least there's not one person that's solely missing from the film.
Yeah.
Like Stephanie's still in the footage. So
it's like, who's recording them?
Yeah.
If it's not any of these people.
Because also like, why would you trust a child to make your home videos?
Yeah, because at this point, you're also still just thinking these children were abducted. These are innocent. It's an innocent child.
Yeah.
Well, at least in this case or this one, because he's still not until he watches the next one knows that there are actual other instances where the same kind of situation has happened.
Yes.
And so I think right after this, he goes outside, right? Because he goes to look at that tree again.
Yeah.
But in the dark.
Also, why is no one cutting the branch down?
Oh yeah, it's just still there.
That seemed rather morbid to
just still leave the branch that's hanging there.
Yeah, the branch because they had cut the little okay,
because the branch got cut.
Yeah, and so that part that was hanging off.
There. Yeah,
they just didn't finish taking it down, and that was the lever that was used to actually hang the family.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe just like get rid of that tree.
Altogether. It just seems like bad juju would be tied back to that tree.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it was just left like that.
They just left the fucking branch. I was like, okay, that's a little weird, but
and
whatever.
He's out there looking at it, and I guess that at that point he goes back inside, but he's hearing noises.
Yeah, he hears like creeps and creakings from the other side of the house.
So
he's investigating.
You're already getting this like creepy paranormal type of vibe because it seems like it's like a ghost stirring about or something.
Sounds like the house is like breathing almost.
and he's kind of snooping around the house, and he gets to the like washer and dryer machine room, and that's whenever a utility room, and we see Ashley, and it's kind of like your first almost jump scare.
Yeah, because you saw a shadow move past him earlier, so you're like, oh fuck, like someone else is in the house.
Yeah,
this is scary. And then
the suspense is really high, especially because of how dark it is, and he doesn't turn on any lights.
Yes, he doesn't. He's just walking through fucking dark as hell.
It's dark, yes.
See, now if I'm scared, I'm turning on the lights. Like if I was investigating something, every fucking light would be flipped on. Yeah, that just makes
more sense.
Not investigating in the dark.
You can't see anything.
I was thinking about it because then I was trying to think to myself, would that be the better idea? Because then you can see, or is it bad?
But then everything can see you.
Everything can see you.
Yeah. Right. But I don't know. I'd still rather have the lights on because I'd rather want to see because then something could still see you anyways, but you can't see them.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll just level the playing field on all sides. It's okay. I'll take my chances.
Yeah. If you're
just start stabbing in the dark, just going off,
and that's how you kill the family dog Harry.
Yep, that's what happens. And so outside he starts. Oh yeah, whenever we get Ashley, she's just like, I can't find the bathroom. Yeah, so he points her in the right direction, gets her back to her room, and I think they start talking a little more, right, for like a quick second.
Yeah, he says, she's like, are you gonna write a good book so we can go back home soon? Yeah. And now like watching it back, you're like, oh, this makes more sense why she really wants to go back home, because whenever the first interaction of her painting the wall and stuff, she said like, oh yeah, Daddy, like I don't like it here. I didn't want to move. You wanted to move. I want to go back home, kind of thing. Yeah. And so whenever she brings it up here, she does seem a little more serene and at peace with her questioning. They struck
that deal. Remember, she was like, if you write it, wait, no. If she doesn't like it within a year there, they can move back. Yeah. Essentially.
But she has to really try to like it.
Within that year.
Or something. Yeah. And then, so now, and she's basically saying like, are you going to write a really good book and stuff? And he says, yeah, I'm going to write the best book that anyone's ever read. And it's like, oh, okay, sure you are.
Little does he know.
Yeah, exactly. But then he goes back. After he puts her back to bed, he goes back for more. And so we get some more.
Super 8 film footage of this one is the car. What's the name for this one?
This is Barbecue.
89. Yes, 89. Which starts up with a cute little family. They're like by a little lake or a pond, and they're like doing some fishing, hanging out, having a little barbecue. But little do they know that they are the barbecue. Yes. Because then we have
the music that was playing here was so fucking creepy.
Oh, I liked it. The music actually is by Over, and it's basically the song is called Silence Teaches You How to Sing, and it is a very long song. It is it's coming up. My phone is going so slow for some reason, because Robert showed it to me, but it's very long. It is like 24 minutes long.
Oh, damn. When you were saying long, I was thinking like, 8 minutes.
No, it's 24 minutes long. And the funny thing is that in not all of them, sorry, but like I think there's 5 of them, like 3 out of the 5 of them, this song, because it's so long, like different parts of it are used in the videos. Yeah, because it's got that like creepy-ish tone to it.
I'm excited. I want to listen through it.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do. Because I really enjoyed a lot of the soundtrack for this film so much. There was one at the end too. I forget exactly which one, but the music was so fucking kind of like, it just almost sounded like a tape, like looping. It was this one.
Yeah, the music was done by Christopher Young.
I think it was that song though.
Oh,
that you were just talking about. Yeah, because it is here. It was at this scene where it kind of just sounded like a tape skipping almost.
It's this song. It's so long. There's so many and there's so many parts of it as well. It sounds like different at different parts. And the dude who did the music for this movie also did the music for like the original Hellraiser.
Oh, nice.
And Urban Legend, The Grudge, Drag Me to Hell, Pet Sematary. A lot of movies, actually. Wow. Ghost Rider, Spider-Man 3, Swordfish. Yeah, he's been nominated for Golden Globes.
Spider-Man 3.
Literally. The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, there's some big names in there.
Yeah.
We like it. Anyways, the music, phenomenal here. And we're seeing, after the happy little go-lucky shots of this family fishing and having a nice day out, we then switch to a car that's chained up. And when we look inside the windows, we can see a family that's unconscious inside with like tape over their mouths and stuff. And then we just watch it
get set on fire,
go up in flames. It's our barbecue.
It's a pretty cruel way to go. They essentially just get burned up in there. And we, on the hood of the car, you can kind of see this symbol as well that was painted on, like red paint or blood, I guess, and blood essentially, I could only assume. And at that point, after watching that one, he then kind of comes out of that trance of watching the film, and then is just like realizing the gravity of what he's
just
seeing.
Witnessed people get murdered.
Exactly. And so he has the idea of calling the cops, but when he's calling them, he's walking around in his office and he comes to Kentucky blood in front of him, Kentucky bluegrass, Kentucky blood. And he is just Kentucky remembering that, like, he's basically at this point questioning, like, do I want to get the police involved, because like I can solve this myself, like this is for my book.
They've
like,
already
don't have a good footing. Yes,
assholes to me from the start. Like, why would I want to include them in this? But also you witness people getting murdered, so that's probably stuff that you should have turned into police authorities. I said maybe not a good idea to keep them in the dark, but his whole thought process of keeping people in the dark is also just not a good idea.
Yeah,
keeping your wife in the dark, police in the dark, bad. Yeah, and that's a lot to have to carry on yourself. I wouldn't want to do that.
And you can definitely tell the toll that it takes on him as well throughout the film. And so he hangs up, of course, after the operator is like, hello, what's your emergency? Hello, is anybody there? And then that's whenever I think he's even about to start another film. But before he can even get to that, I think he hears something. Because this is all happening in the same night. It's still the same night, you guys.
Which is fucking wild.
And then he ends up going to the hallway.
Pool party 66. I couldn't tell if it said 86 or 66.
It was 66 for sure.
But yeah, he hears a thud and like doors creaking. And yeah, he goes into the hallway, and this is fucking wild, this scene.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Whenever I first saw this movie, it really scared the crap out of me. He's walking down the hallway, and he sees that there's a box at the end of the hallway, and there's the one light that they have on. Yeah. Literally. And it's like a pantry. I don't know, some like sunroom. Like a little
mud room.
Yeah,
or
mud
something.
room. And so there's a box there, and it starts moving, and he's like, what the heck? He kind of backs up away from it, and then his son starts coming out of it, but like
upside down.
Like one of those trapeze artists or whatever, people who like bend backwards and stuff.
Oh, like a contortionist?
Contortionist. There you go. Yes.
He basically, it's almost as if he's coming out of this box in a back bend. His
like levitating out. Yeah. Almost.
Because he's got his, stomach and chest turned towards the sky, and his arms are like coming out over his head.
Some intense yoga.
Yeah. And he's just like,
screaming at the top of his lungs. And it looks like his eyes were even like rolling back a little bit.
Yeah, probably they were, because he was sleeping. And then the just gravity and the weight of how his body was moving in that situation. But just how his body even like moved that way.
Man, but I know, man, if that was my kid, I would have been like, what the like, what are you doing?
I would have thrown the kid out.
But they do have, but the thing is that he grabs him, he runs outside to the front yard and like under the moonlight and under the light of the street light, I guess, and he's like to allow him to wake up slowly, because he's having like a night terror. And apparently they have experience in the past with him doing this before. And
he's got a history of it.
The mom was just like, I thought that was over, I thought he got over this, and the dad's like, well, apparently not.
I couldn't believe he brought them out there. I said, you brought him outside just to wake all the fucking neighbors up?
Because he was still screaming.
Come on. Yeah, he was screaming bloody murder, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
I would not. A, you already know this town hates you.
Yeah.
B, that's like, no one is a fan of being woken up in the middle of the night to screams.
Yeah, no.
So.
But yeah, granted, in the moment, he's just like.
Those poor neighbors are probably traumatized anyways, thinking like knowing murdered, their whole friends got murdered right next door to them.
I don't know, but you're supposed to wake up someone who is sleepwalking or not sleepwalking, but having a night prayer like gently, like or whatever.
Oh,
But
yeah.
who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, because
But-
otherwise, I mean, you can fight.
That was pretty intense though. And so we have them the next morning kind of going over what happened the night before, and talking about how he's had these night terrors in the
So
past.
casually.
Yeah.
He was like, I was in a box. And he's
Yeah.
like, you were in a box.
Mhm.
It's just like, what?
Yeah. And even this
This was a really crazy scene that just happened, and y'all are making light of it.
Well, because the
I
dad
loved
brings
it.
up, well, like it's not like it wouldn't be the first time like something weird has happened, like because we found you peeing in the dryer that one time or something like that.
He was like, yeah, we're not going to talk about the dryer. And then the mom was like, when he was peeing in the dryer?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure one
And then
time
Ashley
I did
even
that.
brought it up. Yeah. Oh, in the dryer?
No, it's a dishwasher.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember if I meant to like call my brother and ask, but there was this one time when I think I have a whole
Like a
note in
video
here.
footage?
Yes, a video of me peeing in a dishwasher. No, it's just
Was this like a child thing, like a childhood thing, or like that's happened
it
like
was,
2 weeks ago?
I don't remember if it was no. This was definitely a childhood thing. I
Okay.
didn't pee. I almost said poop. Then
That
dishwasher.
wouldn't be good.
But it was either myself or my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
One of us at one point were sleepwalking and like sleeping, and then one of us tried to pee in the dishwasher.
That feels like a very boy type of thing because boys like kind of pee everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I just feel like I remember talking about it once, and then they got mad at me for blaming it on them when they were like, that was you. And,
But I feel like
now I
that's
don't
also
remember.
a very sibling thing to do.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I have no clue. Anyways, someone in my family
Yeah.
has peed in a dishwasher,
Well, I think
or at least tried to.
we've all probably peed in a place where we probably shouldn't have once in our life.
I think my mom like peed on a nightstand or something too once.
Of all places. Like
Yeah.
in sleep or just like
yeah,
in
I think she was really hungover or something as young.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't that. I don't know. I remember she told me it was for what's your excuse. And so she had told me about it, and yeah, wild times. Anyways, but he peed in the dryer, I guess.
Yeah. And so they're talking about that. Then they're eating their breakfast and they all go, essentially leaving dad to work at home. And that's whenever he starts going over the pool party video and he can actually watch it this time. And after we see the family kind of hanging out,
Having a nice pool day.
We then see them tied to their what are those called? Pool chairs, and then
they're clearly weighted. They got like cinder blocks.
Yeah, and then they get pulled into the water by these ropes, and essentially they all drowned. And
Which okay, I'm sorry. Going back to the ending there, and like that boy was one of the smallest boys.
Yeah,
and he's pulling these cinder blocks in with.
But the power of evil. But the power of evil. They were literally getting help from a deity.
That's
so I
true.
don't think.
I mean, I do feel. Yeah, they weren't willingly killing their family. They were possessed, but.
And when you do get possessed, you do get incredible strength. Everybody knows that.
That's true.
It comes with the territory. There's
Everybody.
you get powers. You get really great strength. You're kind of invulnerable. You're kind of
you can float.
And honestly, you are kind of invincible in a sense, because when you're possessed.
Dead.
Well, when you're possessed, when you're possessed, you're like in all the movies you've seen when they're going through even an exorcism, you are bending, you are breaking, you are getting your bones bent into all kinds of ways. So obviously,
that's true.
You're either rubber or you're invincible, because whenever they do end up getting saved, there's nothing wrong with them. They've healed. They're fine.
Beginning of The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. That little boy was
all types of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
his body was broken.
Yeah. And that normally would kill a person, you know? So, yeah. So there's a plus side to being possessed. Just always remember that, you guys.
You can
silver lining to everything.
Almost jump out of a building and be okay. Please don't. Please don't jump out of
Oh my
buildings.
god, that is not advised.
No.
We do not advise, and now they do our affiliates.
On
And
BooBaes
we
podcast,
can't
they said I could jump out of a building
and
if I was
paper.
possessed and like totally fly. What's that Key and Peele sketch that you can fly?
I've never seen
Get
that.
on your
No.
friend's back. Get on
Well,
the
not that
highway
sketch
and
anyways.
you can fly.
I'll have to watch that.
You
Send it
can
to
get
me.
on top of your roof. It's so funny.
Key and Peele are funny.
I love them.
And
Anyways.
so that's whenever he ends up freezing the frame of the video, because at one point he sees like this ghoulish man thing standing in the water.
Perfect name for him.
in the film in the pool.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if it was his reflection or if he was just legitimately standing in there.
Yeah, it was the way it looked. It was pretty weird. The dimensions of it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It was odd.
Yeah.
But we
Scary.
get our first look at,
Bagul.
yes, the killer, Mr. Boogie,
Mr. Boogie at this point.
for easy terms.
I like the name Bagul though.
Bagul.
And back in the day, he used to have a Twitter. I don't know if he still has a Twitter. I haven't kept up. But and it was just, he would just post like funny stuff.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a fun little mask.
Mm-hmm.
Costume is like some
Oh,
cheesecloth.
And he scared me so much back in the day. I was
Yeah, he's
so
fucking
scared of
terrifying.
him. Gave me like night terrors, honestly.
But if watching it today and stuff, there were a few moments, like the ending scene, the very last minute, whenever his head goes.
Nope. That scared me back in the day. Still scared me the other night.
Fucking loud.
It still scared me the other night.
I was like,
probably because I was anticipating it, but I was just like, no, I know I'm gonna see his face. I don't know why his face truly does. Like,
Close your eyelids,
there
it's
are
there.
so many other scarier things that I've seen in movies for some reason, but him for that face for some reason
because it's so simple. I feel like it's the whole idea with the strangers and
scares me
Potato
so
Sack
much.
Man.
Like,
Like
I
it's
don't
a
even like
very
thinking about it.
plausible thing.
I don't even like thinking about it. It scares me.
Okay, good thing we're talking about this
I
film.
know. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. Robert sometimes doesn't even like think that we should. He's like, I'll want to pick a movie and it'll be close to bedtime. He's like, we're not watching that. We're not watching a scary movie right now because you're gonna have a nightmare. I already know you're gonna have a nightmare.
I don't have nightmares. About
I'm just very susceptible. Like, well, just because anything that I watch like just plays out in my dreams. But when
Yeah.
I have nightmares, I like fight. I like
Oh
start
yeah, no,
fidgeting.
I do. I
and
do
I
as
just, or I
well.
yell.
I never know when I have nightmares until Andrew the next morning is like, "You okay?" Like I had to like hold you for like 30 minutes last night, and I'm like, "What?"
Fighting for your life.
And he was like, "Yeah, you were really upset."
And so as he's looking at Bagul in this film, and he's like, he has to get out from his seat and go take a look closer at the sheet, where it's getting projected on.
Oh, that part was creepy.
The what? Huh?
When he was so close to the screen,
Oh yeah.
and like with his head right next to him, I was like, "Oh, no,
Yeah.
he's gonna move!
I know.
He's gonna move!" I was scared there.
You were waiting for it.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh no!"
But at that point, he doesn't move, right? The
film burns up.
film burns up. Yeah, because you're
But
waiting
it
for
was
it to
still so
jump.
scary.
Yeah, it does happen later though. That kind of scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His head moves in the film and stuff, but it was.
Yeah.
And just knowing that he can move through the film and go to and from the
Dimensions, our world.
film. So
to
you
his
know
world.
that he was probably just sitting there watching, but from the corner of his eye, just like kind of fucking with him, like not moving yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so much
And then
creepier,
that's-
knowing that like
I
he's
feel
there.
because
not acting.
we know the way that he works as well as his tactic of like freaking the people out all the way to the limit of like having to the next place. So we have the projector catching on fire. So he then this is kind of funny to me, but maybe not. I guess I learned stuff pretty quick from YouTube, so that makes sense. But
How he's a master film splicer.
literally,
Yeah.
because he literally Googles something off of like the most like
How
the,
to edit Super 8
and
film.
like clicks the first link, like not even goes through all of them, clicks the first one, and then like it's like this really old website, and then like automatically just knows how to work
he's
film, and he's doing all the splicing and putting it together, and
and
I'm like,
digitizing
okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, but you know, who are we? Maybe he has experience in doing that.
I mean,
don't know.
I have changed many of like
That would have
car
been,
parts
via
YouTube.
this could have been like one easy plot hole fix for this would have just been explaining that as a minor next to his like writing and criminal whatever
he's a journalist and he's got a film degree.
Exactly, yes.
Journalism and film.
Or he's done something in film, like to where it would make this believable, because it really, to me, it was kind of laughable, because I was like, okay, all of a sudden he's a really big professional, because it looked like it was a whole process.
Yeah, because he was cutting it just exactly and like
putting it in that little thing that like compressed it together and was taking it all the little frames apart. Like I was like, okay, but anyways,
homeboy knows what he's doing.
He fixed it all. Yeah, and then the mom comes home yelling at Trevor. And she's really pissed off because he got in trouble at school because he drew on like the Wipey dry erase board a family hanging in a tree
with a permanent marker.
Yeah, and so that's whenever.
And I'm like, yo, boy, not a great way to start your first day. Like you just heard about that, so you're gonna act out that way.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot. But who are we to? I'm sure their family.
He's a 12-year-old,
and their family has gone through a lot. You know.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of the time whenever I just make jokes about myself. So that way when other people make jokes about me, I don't feel as bad because I've already made them myself.
Maybe he was trying to make light of it, make a joke out of it.
I feel like he probably was. He was like, these motherfuckers are going to pin me as this weirdo who lives in the murder house or whatever. Well, he didn't even know it was the murder house. So.
And they told him,
Yeah. And so then he was like, I'm going to beat them to the punch.
Yeah.
Draw it on the whiteboard.
Yeah. And then essentially that's whenever what is happening? Oh yeah, because that's whenever he says, well, I already found out at school or something like that. And then she's really pissed off and she goes to the kitchen and starts yelling at Ellison because that's whenever she's like, why didn't you tell me? And he's like, well, you asked if we moved in. Is this right? The part where not even
she doesn't know.
Not even yet. No.
Yeah. She's just basically getting upset, and he's taking the mom's side and stuff because she doesn't know that it was in this house yet.
That was
right.
Just knows what and how they died.
Happened.
That's right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And this, I was like, he needs to tell her.
Yeah.
And they're starting to get real salty with one another. But then basically, I guess they put a nice little bow on it. And he goes away to go watch the next film. And as we're watching this one, we see
it's the Sleepy Time murder, right?
Yeah, Sleepy Time.
We see a symbol on the wall. He notices that.
We're going upstairs. It's nighttime. It's a very first person POV. We've got
all of these happening at night, right? All the murders, they happen at night. Oh, never mind. Not the family hanging.
That looked like The Strangers right as the sun rose. Oh, The Stranger's so good.
Yeah.
Let's cover it again.
Recover. Reboot. And so a reboot.
A
reboot. That's funny.
I like that.
That's cute.
Everyone's going to be like, these bitches are dumb. I love us.
And so he sees the symbol on the wall. And I think at this point he does notice that it was the same symbol that was like on the hood of the car.
Yeah. He's starting to put some little bits together. He's like,
he's a smart man. Yeah. And that's whenever he notices, he like clicks on the little like zoom in and notices that one of the things says like St. Louis School of something. I don't know. So he Googles and he types in like St. Louis murders and whatever and comes up with footage of
and
like.
We see the whole murders and stuff beforehand too.
That's true. Yeah. And that's, of course.
I liked
they were getting cut in the neck, sliced in the throat.
Yeah. And I liked the way that we didn't see the throats getting slit. Other than through his glasses.
Yeah.
It was a reflection of the screen playing. I really liked that. I thought it was tasteful. And then for the children, or the child, I think it was singular, getting their throat slit, it was just merely in the background. And it was just kind of a like silhouette. You couldn't really tell. It was very blurred out. Yeah. And I thought that was really good. I just liked it.
Yeah. There's your limitations with child violence.
Yes. But yes, he saw with Sleepy Time 98, he saw the St. Louis thing. Child something. It said, I thought we were going to be in like an orphanage or something. Yeah. And then it ended up being like the Miller family murders. Yeah. And I was like, oh.
And which, same situation, had a family murdered and then one of the childs is abducted or missing. And they want to, basically like if you have any information or leads, please call the police so we can find out who killed these people and find the abducted child. Yes, exactly. And so he hears something upstairs at this point.
Yeah,
and
all the lights
turn off. Yeah.
Which is terrifying. And so at this point, he can't turn on the light.
No, yeah, true.
Because this power's legitimately gone out. And he's hearing the creaking, and he goes to investigate. And while he's looking, he doesn't seem to like find anything, but then he hears this giant like loud thump.
Yeah.
From upstairs.
In the
attic.
Yes.
Because this is a single story home, right? Yeah. And so it's the attic, and he goes up. And he hears footsteps running too, right?
Yeah, he hears something.
Yeah.
Yes, because
I heard,
throughout
like,
the whole time, there's like faintly little.
Oh, because that's why they even bring up like snakes don't have feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he hears a thump, and then
and he thinks someone's in the house at this point.
Footsteps.
And then he hears something upstairs. So that's whenever he pulls the ladder down.
And he grabs a knife.
And he goes upstairs, yes. But as he's going upstairs, that's whenever he is walking up there and he sees something moving underneath the lid. And he picks up the lid and it's a snake. And
was there wood covering the entryway?
Yeah.
Something like, because he had pulled it down and then, there was wood covering the
It's like a lid.
But that's so weird.
It's like a little door that flips open.
Normally, that's not how those work. Normally, you just pull the door down.
And it's just open.
Yeah, and you just crawl in.
And
but for there to be something he had to then lift off of it as well seemed very odd to me. But I don't know. And, God, I can't believe he went up there without... I would have tried to fix the power first. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, and so the snake ends up going away, slithering away, which is when he never checks again for the snake. I'm like, there's a snake in this house somewhere.
Oh,
but
he
then gets the lid, the box lid, and then we see over that it's got like pictures drawn all over it by kids of the murders that he's been watching on all these movies, but with the inclusion of a Mr. Boogie now.
Mr. Boogie.
Looking kind of like on as a bystander.
Yeah.
Through all of these murders. Onlooker, yeah. He likes to watch. And so we have him then like taking 3 steps and ends up falling through the ceiling and all the way to the hallway, right?
Yeah, because he kind of catches himself at first, and then he eventually just like he realizes he can't get himself
well,
up
we do
through,
see later.
Then he falls through.
The little hands.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So I don't know if they were trying to help him or push him down, honestly, but...
I
probably
feel like
push him down.
I feel like at this point
they were loving it. Yeah. And so also too, a lot of times he's like up at night making noises. I don't understand how these families sleeping through all of this, especially when he falls through the fucking roof.
I know. Yeah. I was
ceiling.
wondering how his wife didn't come out faster. And then later on, whenever the film drops from the attic and he goes to burn it, I don't understand how she wasn't awake right then.
Yeah, until like probably 15 minutes later. Well, what we see anyways. I don't know.
I would like to think that, I don't know. I'm a pretty heavy sleeper until it comes, like if I've just first fallen asleep, I'm like pretty dead to the world. Yeah. But then later on, little things can wake me pretty easily. And so I'd like to think that if I heard like loud crashing and humans falling down stairs and shit, I would wake up. Like, and no, I know I would. The kittens have fucking knocked shit over in my sleep before.
I would wake up.
And then I'm like,
I mean, I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, but not that heavy.
No.
And so we have the paramedics now here. He's getting his leg wrapped up, right? Or something wrapped up. And then we have Deputy so-and-so talking to him. And he's very enamored with him, which we saw earlier. The way he talks to him and stuff. Yeah. But he is, talking about what had happened with, going upstairs. He's like, he tells him that he thought it was an intruder, but he's like, no, it's probably squirrels. And he's like, because
he said, I saw a snake up there, and he was like, well, snakes don't have feet. Yeah. And at this point, I couldn't tell if he was trying to be sarcastic or if he was just like really trying to be.
I think he was being wholeheartedly serious.
I think he was too.
Yeah, that's his character.
And then he was like, okay, well. And then he's like, well, I did see a scorpion as well. And then he said something about the squirrels, and he was like, well, they do have feet. And he was like, I don't think that was what I heard, though.
Yeah. And then Ellison is just like, well, I'm not a squirrel professional or something like that. Yeah. But he's just like, well, maybe I should get an exterminator out here, whatever. And he's trying to dismiss Deputy so-and-so. But that's whenever he's like, I would really love if we had, if I could get an autograph. I left my book at home, but if you had a copy, that'd be great. Like, and they're talking more and more. And that's whenever Deputy so-and-so is like, and this is how we get his name, Deputy so-and-so, because he's like at the, at the end of every book, at the acknowledgements, you thank this one cop who helped you with their dutiful efforts, you know.
say like deputy so-and-so.
Yeah. And then of
He's
course.
like, I could be that. I could be your deputy so-and-so.
And Ellison wastes no time on jumping on that and letting him know, like, all right, this is what I need from you. And he lets him know about the murders because he wants information on them, essentially. And
the way that was delivered there as well almost seemed a little bit like, I couldn't tell if he was just like, okay, yeah, whatever, I'll give you this. But I don't know. He seemed a little, he seemed eager, but then also like, just shut up.
Deputy so-and-so?
No, Ellison.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can definitely feel that as well. And so then after that, we get Ellison watching an old interview of himself, which kind of shows you like where he is essentially, because
every washed up person has done that.
Excuse me. Well, and even like
me literally yesterday finding
what? Footage of yourself?
Yeah.
Well, not even that.
Of my like high school talent show, and I was like, oh my god, this video does still exist. I thought it was gone forever, and then I was like watching it.
But that's like your actual like a talent of something. Like
well, this is his actual talent of something.
But no, I think there's different context because he's specifically getting asked. I just mean like more so as in character, because he's specifically getting asked then, like, because the interviewer is being like, what's nicer to, or what's better to like solve a crime and have, you know, justice?
Yeah, what feels better, the justice or having your
the number one bestseller
on the New York Times bestsellers list,
and
number one.
And he's like, well, obviously the justice. And then
he was like, I would cut both my hands off
before ever writing for fame and money. And so it really shows you how much of either one it was, how much he's descended into this
I just want
person,
fame and money.
Yeah, who he thought he wasn't, or showing true colors of someone who was lying when all they ever wanted was the fame and glory. So both of them are very negative to me. Or
it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be a bit of a mixture. Like he at first was doing, I feel like
for
maybe
the good
at
of it.
First, yeah, it was for the good of it and for the justice to bring that to that family.
Because it really stirred him at night. Like these kids, because that's what his thing is, like, you know, these girls were missing and I needed to find them because the cops weren't doing it.
Exactly. And then once he got the money from it and the fame and everything and having that number one New York, because even in my this is so bad, even in my head at the time I was like, the New York Times bestsellers list. If he was asking me the question.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to think that I would think it would be the justice. But also, I mean, that's got to be an amazing feeling.
Power and glory, like Lana Del Rey song. Yes.
I'm a shit person.
No, I totally feel you on that. And also, I mean, it just like I said, is more so just going over to the whole character arc and the development of what we're watching happening with Mr. Ellison, and how at this point we know now he is very desperate to do anything to go back and be at that same spot that he was in that interview.
He wants to get back there.
Exactly. And so it's very ironic as well how like
he's addicted,
how hungry he is to it when he was at that point clearly trying to say like he was doing this all for the good of just helping people out.
Because he makes so many comments about like, well, we're gonna be rich.
Yeah.
Like we won't ever have to worry about money again.
You can tell where his priorities are.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the money machine though. Like once you start making money, it's kind of like it's a drug, you know? It's like once you start having it,
he's
you
1000%
just have to
addicted.
Have more and more and more to fuel, you know?
Yeah.
Fuel that.
I was thinking of like, what's that song? The do 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 do. Doing crystal meth will lift you up until you break. Don't stop. Yeah.
I know what song you're talking about, but I don't know what it is.
It just makes me think about like how you'll never reach that high again, which is basically that song's about crystal meth. So.
Oh, I really like that song. That's like
something else.
It's like an early 2000
semi-charmed kind of life. Semi-charmed kind of life.
Early 2000 song, or is that 90s?
90s.
It's 90s. Wow, that far back. Okay, and so, anyways, we have mom and the Ashley making dad's coffee the next. I don't even honestly. A lot of this film, I don't know what time of day or most things are.
Oh yeah,
for the most part, it's this morning time.
And we had also seen that Boogie was watching in the back of the hanging.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And like we see that all of the murders have him.
He
Boogie
sees Mr.
on
Boogie
tape.
in all the
Yeah.
crimes. Yeah.
But yes, little girl Ashley. I couldn't remember her name. Little
no,
girl.
literally because I paused for a moment because I said mom and redhead. Mom and redhead and make dad's coffee.
Mom and little red.
Little red. Yeah, but they make the coffee and the mom, and this is the very foreshadowing as well because mom tells Ashley, okay,
his
but
coffee a
he's
specific
very
way.
particular about his coffee. Yes. So it already is
Well,
going
I
to
mean,
show you.
you press that French press down too hard, you're going to get too many grounds in your
I
coffee.
don't know how to make coffee. I'm not a coffee connoisseur.
Me neither. I worked at Starbucks for 5 years.
I just drink coffee black
Yeah.
with a little bit of sugar. Mm-hmm.
At diners, I drink it just straight black.
Mm.
Oh, except for there was one time I was somewhere, and I swear to God, they mixed this beans with the canned juice of canned green beans.
What?
Like instead of water, it felt like they brewed it with the runoff juice from canned green beans.
Ew, that's really gross.
It was the most it was the most disgusting thing I've ever. I was like, ugh.
That's wild. I
The
can
food's
only
great,
imagine. Yeah.
and that's a great little place here in Waco. So I won't. Name
We
the
won't
name.
mention a name, but yeah. There's only 3 cups. But okay, anyways. So after he sees all of that, they're making the coffee. She takes him the coffee. Deputy so and so gives Ellison all the info on all the murders that he asked him about. And he, I think, is even asking do you think all of these are connected? Essentially,
Yeah, he's
and
what? Because he's telling him, he's listing off, we've got the Martinez family on 8224 Billington, Sacramento. And then he says,
they used to live. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the name of the family that burned up in the car, and our barbecue. And then he says, and then 2976 Piedmont Way, St. Louis, was the Sleepy Time murders.
So he's
basically.
connecting.
And he goes, wait, 2976. And he was like, wait, what?
Yeah, so they're all connected.
That's when Deputy so and so is being like, "Wait, do you think they're connected?" And he was like, I'm just gonna figure it out."
He's brushing him off essentially.
But we realize that that's where the Miller family or the Stevensons. So they were the Miller family, the Piedmont Way, St. Louis people. But the Stevensons, who were hanged in their backyard, moved. Whenever they moved there, they lived in the Miller's family house before that.
And so we're seeing the connections ourselves getting tied together. And he also is noticing the pattern of how each case as well has a child that is missing. A kid gets abducted. So he's trying to figure out now where are all these children going to, who's doing these murders. And now he has this Mr. Boogie that's in everything. So it's who is this other third party that I have no idea who he is, no information on.
Yeah.
And I think at one point too, is this the part where Mr. Boogie's head moves?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Boogie's head moves in the picture on the laptop.
Because he's sitting there really studying the address where the Millers had moved from and stuff. And then while he's looking at that, Boogie's head turns to look at him.
Yeah.
And then we see that there's the children's hands
were the things that were dragging him or pulling him down whenever he was falling through the hole in the ceiling.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so
terrifying.
And so that's whenever at this point I think he goes back to sleep. But he wakes up in the middle of the night, very Amityville horror, because the projector starts playing and you just hear it in the background. So he goes to the room and he goes to see what's happening, and he sees as he's watching the film, he notices Mr. Boogie again in one of the other films. The family hanging out, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is where, so this is where maybe I had just mentioned that earlier. It was okay.
Because that's whenever
he wakes to the film rolling of the family hanging out.
Yeah.
And then he says, what did I put? From picture to outside their house.
Yeah,
What?
because that's whenever he notices that Mr. Boogie is in the family tree hanging out video. And then he prints it out and then he puts it to the window. And then whenever he moves it from the frame, you see Bagul out in the
fucking wild
watching him
that was good.
And the outside. Yeah, it was scary. That was a good jump.
I don't understand my notes. I put from picture to outside house.
Yeah. That's exactly what happens because that's how it literally moves. He moves the frame of the picture and
there.
you still see him in the real life, and it's really creepy because whenever it cuts to him like wiping his eyes and like freaking out, he's gone.
Yeah.
And so he gets a bat and he's walking outside because he's freaking out at this point. And then when he goes out there, he's looking around and through the bushes, you see these little glowing eyes, and you're like, what the fuck is that? And it's fucking Trevor outside again, shivering and shaking, just like in the bushes.
It's a fucking Trevor.
Yeah, he's fucking Trevor outside.
Because I was
about to be hypothermic.
Like, damn, son, you've watched this man, or allegedly this man kill like 8 families. What the fuck do you think your bat's gonna do?
Yeah.
You're going out there with this baseball bat, and I'm like, your bat's not gonna do shit, bro. And he gets out there, but it's just fucking Trevor. It's just fucking Trevor.
And of course, then he's going back inside. The mom's woken up. She's really pissed off because... Before he gets back inside, like, yeah, he goes back in. He goes back in, and then he comes out to
and
get the bat.
He gets the flashlight and the bat. Yeah. Because he dropped both.
Both, yes.
But there's a puppy.
There's a dog out there.
It's not a puppy. It's a full-grown
big dog. And
big
he's
dog.
growling because behind Mr. Ellison, there are these ghostly kids that he can't see, but the dog obviously senses their presence and can see them. And so he's growling at them.
And the dog is a symbol of Bagul. Because the scorpion, the snake, and the dog were what we see in the occult drawings later. Mm-hmm. So that was why those 3 specific animals came into play.
Yeah.
Which was super cool. Mm-hmm. I love little shit like that.
Yeah.
That was nice.
How it all ties together.
Yeah.
And so he then ends up getting back to the mom at like the door, and he's like, we gotta go. We are leaving. We gotta go. I don't want to be here anymore. And so that's whenever he
he's not saying that yet.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, the mom wants him to drop the book at this point.
Yeah. She's basically being like, okay, no. And he's kind of freaking out too. But
it's not the breaking point yet. And he's telling her like he just really wants a hit. And I think this is the point whenever he even tells her like that's his like priority or whatever, his like legacy or something like that, right?
Not quite, because that's when she finds out. But she's basically like accusing him, like she's like, you never break into the whiskey this early, and she's like, clearly something is eating you up, like something is bothering you wrong. And you're not telling me.
Yeah.
And she was like, we need to get away from here. We need to move away. And then he's just like, no, like we can't. And then so Deputy so-and-so comes in though.
That's right.
And this is where he's like, look,
I know.
I need to be in the loop
because I know, like, I can tell when there's connected murders when I see them.
And if you want me to be able to help at all, like I got to know
what's going on,
the slightest bit of like what you're thinking or what you're onto. Like we have to be on the same page.
Exactly.
Basically.
And that's whenever they start going all the murder notes, and it's been happening all the way dating back to the 1960s. And that's whenever Deputy so-and-so is like, well, this man has to be like 60 or 70 years old if this gets the same person killing them. And
he's kind of showing them him all the things, and he shows Deputy so-and-so the symbol, and he's like, that's the occult. That's just the cult.
Yeah.
Like,
So that's when they tell him you need to call the professional Mr. Jonas because he is a occult crime specialist. And we also get to see the lawnmower video after this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he's asking Deputy so-and-so to find out where the drowning happened.
That's right. Yeah.
Those drowning murders. But yes, then we get Lawn Work 86.
Yes.
This is good.
Yeah. So
I like this one.
We're watching a family through bay windows through their house, and they're kind of chilling, hanging out. But then it cuts to outside.
Some hella shaky camera work too.
And then we see a lawnmower just going around the yard, and then it finally just comes up to one of the daughters or a mom or a lady, and
someone's head.
Just cuts over it.
Yep. And it's so abrupt.
So jarring as well.
You're sitting there for a hot second just watching this lawnmower get pushed along. And so you're along for the ride. Yeah. Yeah. But then it just keeps like edging you ever so slightly. It's longer than you expect. And then all of a sudden it's like,
and then even him, because it jumps to him and he jumps, and he's obviously having a hard time stomaching that one because it's pretty intense.
And they give you a jump scare music. There's a cue in the music is there as well. But and that's when he really starts to be like, woo, shit.
And so after this, we get him actually getting a Skype call, essentially, from Professor Jonas. And he's mentioning like, well, that symbol you sent me, it's not like a pentagram or a pentagon or what I said. I said it's not a pentagon.
The pentagon.
It's not a pentagram. It's something that's even like predates that. It's
symbol associated with Bagul.
Bagul,
a pagan deity.
Pagan deity, and it dates all the way back to Babylonian times.
Yeah, and it's
he's the eater of children.
Eater of children. Yeah, he eats children.
And he is he essentially uses the children to kill the families, and then he takes that child's soul.
Each story involves a way that he lures the kid away from the physical world and then into his netherworld, where he can feed on their souls and then
which I guess before
control them.
Film, I guess he worked through like paintings or pictures and drawings.
Yeah, I'm
like,
sure. Like the nun.
Yeah.
In The Conjuring 2.
Popping out, yeah. And so we have it's back
I feel like he could also almost just exist in pure imagination. You think about him too much and he don't think about him.
Don't think about him, no. And so it's nighttime again and everybody's asleep, but like just the other night we have the projector coming on in the middle of the night.
But we got a very like dramatic scene of him locking everything up.
Oh, that's right. Yes, and
then
this is
he
just
still somehow wakes to the projector whirring.
And it's all out. Yes, and set
everything's
up.
out. And so he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And at this point, that's whenever
this is where I put, bro, turn on a fucking light.
Yeah. he ends up going to the attic, right? Is it the attic?
So, okay. Here is, he wakes again to the murders playing and stuff, the hanging, and he's going to investigate right now. And this is where he goes to the kitchen, and while he's like turning the corner, we get the boom.
Oh, one of the kids like runs
Stephanie's
by him.
face.
Yes,
No, Stephanie's face like right next to his. She's not even running at this point.
Oh, that's
Her
right.
face is just right next to his.
That's right.
And
yes.
it's I honestly didn't care.
It was
that
laughable.
scene very much.
Yeah. It's very like from like Amityville, like how we didn't like seeing Little Ghost Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there were some of them that I didn't mind as much. It was just her face was so, it was overdone, I felt. But there were other points. So then we're kind of getting snippets of each of these kids running through, and it's almost like they're taking turns leading him throughout the house.
Yeah, where they want him to go.
But then there was the last boy. I was like, damn, the one sorority squatting at the end of the hallway like got me, because it was the biggest guy, the biggest boy. He was just like kind of perched, like sorority squat at the end of the hallway, and I was like, oh fuck! And then the way he like started running up to him, I was like, oh, no.
It's very scary.
It was.
And he ends up making his way going to the attic again once more.
Yeah, and because he had seen all of his children in bed too.
He checked everything and even checked the wife's room.
No, not yet. Not yet, because he goes.
And Ashley's room.
Yeah, he goes to make sure all of his children are in bed, but Ashley.
He thinks Ashley's asleep, but she's not asleep.
She's not. Yeah, she's looking over at her corner, and we see Stephanie in the corner saying shh and like shaking her head with her finger over her lips, and has painted Boogie and the hanging family on the wall. Yeah.
And once again, we have another kid being shh, just like in the other movie too.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Telling them to shh. These girls don't want their secrets told.
No.
They're like, don't tell them about this. They're going to think you're crazy.
And so,
but then this is where he falls asleep on the couch with the bat. So Deputy so-and-so comes back in.
Yes. He falls, and that's whenever he starts telling him, like, I think there's something up in the house, and that's whenever Deputy so-and-so is like, look, I've seen you have a bottle of whiskey every time I come over. You're obviously moved into a house where murders and bad shit happened. Like, you're probably going to see things. And he finds out that his wife doesn't know. He's like, you're bearing all this alone. Yeah. You're doing this by yourself. Yeah. Your mind's probably playing tricks on you. And even Deputy so-and-so is like, no, I believe all in the supernatural stuff. Like, that's why I think, like, you're probably, like, losing your mind.
He's like, I wouldn't spend a single night in this house. Yeah. Absolutely not.
And he's even just like, he's like, go outside. Like, you think you need to get away from the house.
You just got to clear your head. Yeah. Just like Amityville.
And so that's whenever we see that the mom is getting onto Ashley because she ended up drawing on the wall, and she drew a picture of Stephanie hanging on a little
swinging on her little rope swing. Which, because there was a tire swing from that same branch that she then hung her family from.
Yeah. And so mom is freaking out because Ashley then is like, well, that's because what dad is writing his book about and like how she lived here and she died and all this stuff. And the mom,
but she didn't want me to draw it in my room because that was her brother's room at the time.
Yeah. And so the mom is mad. She is pissed off. They are fighting in the room. She's had it. It's the last straw.
She was like, you told me we didn't move in 2 houses down.
And he's like, well, you
didn't. We didn't.
Yeah.
And she was like, but it happened here. And he was like, no. And then she was like, what? And he was like, it happened in the backyard. And she's like, motherfucker.
Literally. and at this point too, she feels insulted because then he's like, his writing is his legacy. And she's like, no, I am your legacy. Our marriage is. Your children are.
Yeah, your children are your legacy.
Like,
I am your life. I'm right in front of you. We're the people here in front of you. And you are
ruining it.
Yeah. You're missing all the important things.
Yeah. And so that's whenever I think at that point, once again, we just brush things under the rug. I don't know, but I think it's dreamy. It's nighttime again.
Yeah. I just have harsh light being. Oh,
because
yeah.
Because the projector comes on again.
Well, we flash to him in bed with a light being shined on him.
Oh, that's right. Someone's recording him.
It's
that's
the projector.
Right.
Yeah. A recorder. And then he wakes up to the whirring of the projector running.
Yeah, exactly. And that's this is the point whenever he makes his way to the attic because the projector is now in the attic.
Yeah, because the projector is not, he like hears it going and he like walks in and it's not even there. He's hearing it going,
it's not
but
in
it's
the
not
office.
in his office.
Oh, that's right, because he's like this. And that's why I was like, wait, is this a dream or is this not a dream? Is this real life? But it is real life.
And he's being led to the attic. It's open. There's like the light is flickering and there's the music here is very creepy as well. I really liked it.
And he makes his way up, and that's whenever he gets up there and he sees all the kids just sitting there watching the film. And a film going on.
And they turn their heads and go
shh. And then we see Bagul coming down the hallway of whatever film is on the film or his world, whatever it is. And then he comes all the way up to the screen, and then whenever it's like up to the screen, he like puts his head down and scares the crap out of Ellison, me too, including, and he like goes all the way down the stairs like da 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 da, falls down.
I don't understand how his wife like right then.
Yeah, I didn't wake up hearing all that.
A whole grown ass man.
Once again, he falls down the whole fucking stairs, and that's whenever, even when he just falls all the way down, the whole freaking like, Bagul is acting out at this point. The whole like
he's like,
film set, and all the films get thrown at him on the ground, like right next to him, falling at him. And that's whenever he takes it outside and he starts to burn it.
He's like, you're not supposed to be this smart. You're just supposed to let me hunt and take your little kid and let them kill you.
And so he takes all that film, he takes it outside and burns it in like a little fire pit.
What good is that going to do?
Right. And he gets the family.
Ooh, the music as it burned. The music as it was burning was also very good. Yeah. I wonder if it was from the same song because it felt very similar vibes.
Yeah. It's a long song.
While just ultimately it was terrifying.
That whole song's like they only had to get licensing for one song. Like they're like, we're gonna use the
soundtrack the whole movie
literally. And so they end up fleeing the town. They get in the car, but as they're like trying to leave, that's whenever they get pulled over by the same sheriff from the beginning. And of course, he's just like kind of giving him a hard time. I like how the wife
didn't even question him at all either. She was like, okay, yep, we're getting the kids.
And of course, she'd been wanting to get out of there. And so the sheriff is giving him a hard time, but that's whenever she's trying to explain, like, no, we're just trying to get out of town. And
he's like, I'm just trying to take your advice and leave town and never look back, just like you told me to whenever I first got here.
And then the sheriff is just like, wait, nobody tried to run you out, right? And he's like, no, obviously because the sheriff is just like, has his own agenda of not wanting to be like bad mouthing like a book or something. But
he's like, I don't want my town people, like, I don't want to read in your book that you got chased out of town by some crazy angry town folk.
But since he's just like, no, I'm just leaving, he's like, well, then I don't see why I got to give you a ticket. And he rips it up.
Your autograph.
Exactly, yeah. And lets them go.
He says, oh, and then he says, do me a favor, keep it under 60 until you reach county line.
And you're someone else's problem. And then he's like, and then even Ellison is like, he's like, when the dude is asking about the book, he's like, there's not going to be a book. And then the mom is even like, there's not going to be a book. And he's like, there's not going to be a book. Yeah. I'm like, there's still going to be a fucking book, but not really. Nope.
There's not. He going to die.
It's going to be a video. Yep.
Because
so that's whenever
not going to last much longer.
They end up going home to their mansion.
If you haven't clued in yet, the murders happened because, and we had found out whenever he was talking with everyone. Yeah. Oh, not quite
yet.
No,
not yet. No, it's about to happen.
Yeah. So, but you can infer. Once the Stevensons had moved from the Miller family house, it was like, maybe the murders happened in the next house.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
I automatically like I
You
remember
put it
the
together.
first time I watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And so whenever he was moving away, I was like,
Yeah, because you're already like
this
thinking
is
like
bad.
this is bad
This
news.
is real bad.
So he ends up moving back with the family into their mansion because they honestly still hadn't even sold it. He was paying mortgages on both of the houses at this point. But they moved back into their big ass house, and that's whenever he gets a phone call from Jonas, and he's telling him more about Bagul info, and that's whenever
And he's already screened three calls from so and so.
Deputy so and so, and that's whenever he tells Jonas like, well, what if someone burns like all the footage and all the stuff and all these portals like for Bagul to get into, and that's whenever Jonas
because Jonas has told him that the images were gateways to his realm, and that he could abduct the viewers in the images themselves, and he's basically just like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
like, no. That's not
I
a
love
thing.
that reaction. Yeah, well, because he's just so
It's
like,
basically exactly how he was. He was like, what do you mean destroy the image?
Yeah.
Because then he is teetering on this isn't real.
yeah, exactly.
But it's like, bro, you're the expert.
But then and
You should
Jonas is
believe this
just
shit.
like, what kind of book are you writing? And he's like, I'm not even writing a book at all. I don't even think.
Yeah.
And he declines
And
Deputy
this is
so
where
and
we
so
learn
one more
about
time,
the
I believe.
scorpion, snake, and black dog as well.
That's right. Yes, and how they're all connected. And that's whenever he's going back to his attic to like in this house that he has, his old house, and he's gonna put some shit up there, and that's whenever we have the fucking box again of home videos and
that he just burned.
Yeah, and so he's freaked out. Obviously, the home movies are back, but there's a new little film reel attached to it that says extended cut endings.
Yeah.
And so he ends
It's
up
like that
doing
DVD you
his
get.
homework and splicing it up, the bonus footage, and putting it all together, and he's watching the murders. And at this point now, we're also getting Deputy so-and-so calling again. And that's whenever we have him telling him that like the dates and the addresses, everything links up chronologically.
The Deluzio Lawn Massacre, the 1966 Oregon drownings, everything. And he's like, if they've all the previous people
lived
like,
in the house where a murder happened before.
And he says, so you just, not only did you just speed up his timeline, you put yourself directly
in the middle of it. Yeah.
You've put yourself in the line of fire.
Yeah. And so all these extended cuts then are showing the real truth of these little kids are the ones that are doing the murders.
We see Stephanie climb out of the tree and all the other little kids. And as they get to frame, they go, shh, our favorite thing.
Do their little shushing. And that's whenever he's watching this, and you can tell we're supposed to be watching him progressively getting more and more like sickish because he's being poisoned.
He's getting super disoriented.
None other than his daughter, the redhead, Ashley. Because she'd made her coffee, just like it was foreshadowed earlier, where she's now been making him coffee.
Because we saw him lift his coffee cup
and
earlier.
it's like green, yes.
And it had earlier before even when he was talking with Jonas.
It had that little note underneath it.
It had the note stuck to it, yeah. And then now we see that whenever he looks back in it, yes, it's green, and then the note under it says "Good night, Daddy."
Yep, and he ends up passing out, and that's whenever we have him waking up on the floor with all of his family members around him.
I like that you made the movies longer. They're better this way.
Yeah, it's very like, creepily.
Fuck you, little kid.
And she's like, "I'm gonna make you famous now, Daddy."
Yeah, don't worry, Daddy. I'll make you famous again.
And so that's whenever she ends up packing away at them.
And she's the one she's filming it all. She's been filming them. And we end with some blood covered walls and Ashley saying shh.
Yep.
Which is the thumbnail for most of it is the little girl with
the blood on the wall and having it the blood look like Bagul. And then we have
she really did. She really painted the walls now.
Yep. And
she sure did.
With all the blood. And that's whenever we have her then entering the footage with all the other children. As they are, that's right, because whenever the children are looking at her as she's there looking at them, Bagul comes from behind her.
Yeah.
As she tilts her head.
She's like sitting there writing in the top of the shoebox. I keep calling it a shoebox. It's not a shoebox, it's just the box.
The lid, yeah.
And they're watching
their murder, yeah.
Because the reel of the footage is still going on. So all the kids are there and we're watching it while it's playing. And they're there like waiting for her. And then once she finishes, she goes and moves in front of them. And this part, I love this part. It did get me.
Yeah.
Because, she's just sitting there staring at them, and then they tilt their head, and so she tilts hers. And as she does, boom.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I liked that a lot.
And she ends up joining them in their world.
He just picks her up, and then he walks right into the film.
Yep.
And he takes her with him. Mm-hmm. And then we see house painting 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he comes and has a little jump scare again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have,
just like earlier.
I would have been fine
without
if it
that
was
little part.
just the ending out with the house paintings 2012 and that like pans away into darkness.
Mm-hmm.
The last little added, I imagine in theaters that had to have been fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
To just
it's
all
like
of a sudden see,
boom.
Yeah, all of a sudden see his face come in. It's like, oh, fuck, no. So I can get why they did it.
It honestly was, because I still
like,
remember how terrified I was of it, because I was even anticipating it in this one, and it still got me.
Sometimes that anticipation gets you worse, though. When you
already know it's
sitting
coming,
there knowing that it's happening, and you're like, when's it gonna happen? It's like the whole idea of a Jack in the Box.
Yeah,
just sitting there turning it and knowing that it's gonna explode, but you don't know when.
Yes, I'm excited to give it a boot rating.
How many?
I'm gonna give it a 4. 4.5.
Okay, I was about to be like, I feel like this was a little low.
4.5.
Actually. Okay. Yeah, what's that?
Actually, I give it a 5.
Yeah.
I give it a 5. I give it a 5. Yeah. Because I liked it ever since I first seen it.
This is
it
probably
was a really good film. I remember
first one where I felt like you legitimately didn't want to watch
it.
Other ones where have we spoken about where you've felt like actually kind of scared?
No, yeah, even
and
watching
this one
it,
you're like, no, I really don't want to talk about him.
I don't. Yeah, he still freaks me out, but I remember it really sticking with me. It really scared me. It's got a good storyline. It really, the Super 8 film footage is really cool. It really adds a different layer and dimension to like the storytelling. Even with us, like it's kind of like I'm a sucker for a whodunit.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like that mixed with horror.
Like Clue.
Yeah, because you're kind of unraveling this mystery with our protagonist as the story's going on.
True crime and with ghosts.
And just as
what more can you want?
And just as much as like he's unraveling it and then he becomes a part of it, it's like you're doing the same thing and becoming a part of it as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of then, if you're thinking about it, even more of like like not third or fourth walling it, but like the extra dimension of like he's watching these people on film getting murdered, and we're watching this family getting murdered on film. So
and
then it comes to find
us?
out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like it melts your mind a little bit if you think too hard. But it's fun. I liked it. It's good. Solid acting, solid storyline, solid scares. The music was obviously pretty good. It paired well with all the scenes that were happening. So I give it a 5. 5 boos. 5 booski boos.
That's fair. Yeah, it's pretty up there for me. I'm trying to decide. I feel like I'm at a 4.5.
4.5.
It's a super enjoyable.
Tell me what kept it from that extra 0.5.
I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to think of
your cold heart.
My cold dead heart. No, I don't know. I actually don't know.
I'm peer pressuring you into a 5.
No, I'm just trying to think of like the films I've given 5s before, and
I mean I get it. It's a very coveted 5.
Yeah.
5 boobs. Wow.
I really did super enjoy this film though. You're
not going to give it the golden buzzer.
Actually, I've remembered what made it 0.5 drop. Yeah, it's Stephanie's face.
Okay, gotcha.
It's the little girl's face, and there's a few moments where I wish that was less.
Yeah, or even a few moments where like there was maybe cut for time. There could be some moments where it's like that's not necessarily necessary.
Yeah,
maybe.
And it's just like I said, that kid at the end of the hallway, whenever he ran up, you couldn't really see his face, and that was more terrifying to me. Sorority squad, at the end. Then her face like popping up right next. It was very much just, I mean, because we just watched it, the 2005 Amityville with the face at Michael washing his hands in the scene, in the sink, and that one just being like blah, 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 right next to his face. It gave me very similar vibes, and I just don't.
This movie had a lot of parallels. Yeah,
it really did. Super cheap scares like that.
Yeah.
Billy and Trevor were 12. They're like, I'm 12 years old.
Yeah,
both of them said that at the breakfast table.
That's funny.
Well, I guess one was the dinner table.
And there was also a little sister as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. We totally planned this. We didn't, but yeah. So I 4.5, and because
and a 5, so it's a 4.75.
because of Stephanie's face.
Mm-hmm.
The other kids' faces didn't bother me as much. It was really Stephanie's.
Well, and I think because
had
it was
so much
so
on.
well, and it was so close to the full screen view.
That's true.
You know, the other kids weren't
up close and personal.
Uh-huh.
Hers just had much more makeup.
And it was probably also, to me, it was more so the delivery because of how it's like right there next to him. Like it was just, if she would have been somewhere else, or I don't know, but.
Then, like, there's times in the original Conjuring, the first Conjuring, with the woman crying who killed Rory, her son.
Yeah.
Whenever.
You didn't like that either.
No, I loved that.
Oh, I thought you didn't.
Yeah. No,
okay.
I didn't like the wardrobe scene.
Okay.
But whenever Lorraine turns her head and we've got the mom just sitting there, be like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Look what you made me do.
Yeah.
I loved it because her face was just, it was an abrupt scare, but her face was so natural.
Yeah.
It just looked like a woman who had been, like, mind you, like slightly pallid, but she'd just been crying. There was no extra work done to her face. Now, Stephanie's face had like cracks, like almost as if she was a little ceramic doll that had been smashed.
Yeah.
And tried to glue back together.
It was just too much.
Yeah. A little too much for me. But otherwise, phenomenal film.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. Loved everything about it. I loved it the first time I saw it. Would watch it again. I'm excited to get to cover
Sinister 2,
which is what we'll do next week.
Next week. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, so I really don't remember too much about it.
I really don't, because I'd only seen this one once, and I did go immediately watch Sinister 2 after it.
Gotcha. Double feature.
So
Wish
I'm
people
excited
could do
to
that
see.
too with this double feature.
Yeah.
But once again, we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's
Take
right.
good such care of us. Thank you for sticking out with us as we're recording for this long one. We implore everybody to go listen to all the other podcasts that they have, like the Poultry Cows, and Blah. And
Bros, Foes, and Heroes is another one I get on my ads a lot.
You can check those all out at roguemedianetwork.com.
Or on any of your main podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Apple Podcasts.
and also Spotify.
Spoofy.
But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And it either
really
makes
helps.
our day or it makes us very sad.
Obviously.
So make our day.
Literally.
Yeah. Literally, it makes me cry.
And so if you want to follow us or talk to us or give us any deets on like movies you want us to cover, or just want to like talk and chat about your favorite horror movie films, you can also find us on our social media platform, being
Our big or only one being Instagram, and that is at BooBaes Podcast, and that is
BOOBAES, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
that's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, until next time, you guys.
Bye, baes.
Bye, baes.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast. Frozen, Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen, Frozen,
heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't rap, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.